Hey, this is Michael Kelly Smith from Brittany Fox. You're watching the Crash Course Metal Show. Rock on.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Crash Course Metal Show. Today, we're going to be doing another reaction video to somebody's list, and that list is going to be Martin Popoff, the one and only Martin Popoff's new video and list, the 12 best post grunge hair metal albums. Now, that is quite interesting. I had someone comment to me on a previous video saying, hey, they wanted me to do a reaction to Martin Popoff's new list. So, and obviously it has to do with hair metal. So I am going head first into this video. And as far as Martin Popoff, he is one of the best rock journalists throughout the decades. And we did have him on the show here not many years ago, but at least a couple years ago now, when the Crash Course Metal Show was in its infancy. Martin was kind enough to come on and talk some 80s AC/DC. So I will put the link to that video in the description or right up here somewhere. But without further ado, let us jump in to Martin Popoff's top 12 post-grunge hair metal albums.
Martin Popoff from the Contrarians here, back with another kind of solo show. You know, these ideas just come into my mind. Gray hair metal. What is that? I mean, this is a term that doesn't make sense. Nobody has ever said gray hair metal, but my cheeky idea here is that I'm going to tell you about 12 hair metal albums you need to own. Late period hair metal albums, post grunge hair metal albums, post Nirvana hair metal albums. It's no longer in print, but I did this really cool book I liked, a timeline and quotes book called The Big Book of Hair Metal. And I ended it in 1991. I ended it September 1991 with the release of Nirvana's Nevermind, because it's just a sort of an agreed upon time for the death of hair metal. It had been in decline already. Grunge had really kind of picked up and started for real 88, 89, 90. Nirvana, when I say post Nirvana Bleach is 1989. But not all of these albums are strictly speaking post Nevermind, but every album I'm going to talk about here is 1991 or newer kind of thing. The reason I bring up the Big Book of Hair Metal is I kind of regretted ending it in 91 because I've had some back and forth lately with people, and I even thought of doing a book on this, right? But I think what happens is once grunge comes up, I think most hair metal bands say we have to raise our game. This is pretty interesting, exciting, cool music, better lyrics, more creative, different. We have to raise our game. Some kind of tried to do their grungy album, and some just tried to make a better version of a hair metal album. And so I think that's why you've got better albums at this point. Again, I've done this. In my audio podcast, History in 5 Songs with Martin Popoff. Just Google it, check that out. It's over 40 locations, apparently. It's easy to find. But I've done like 308 episodes of that or so. So one of them was all about this idea, and it's one of my favorite ones, called Go to Vancouver and Try Harder, where there's this idea that later on bands make the pilgrimage to Vancouver and work with Bob Rock or Bruce Fairbairn or at Little Mountain, or what's the other one called? Anyways, bands go there and they kind of make better versions. Their best album, there's usually cleaning up, getting sober involved with it as well. And they go there, less distractions, and they make a very good album. So the idea here is that these are records that are much better than the standard old hair metal fare. I think so, because I think they do improve, and I think they are inspired by the creativity of grunge. So without further ado, let's go.
Okay, so there's the criteria here for now. To talk a little bit about the criteria. When I was thinking post grunge hair metal albums or gray hair metal albums, I was thinking like after like 1997 or 2000. So that kind of changes my thinking now of this list. Now, if we are going post 1991. Now, I am in that camp to where like hair metal didn't really die until like 1992, 1993 even. I would even throw in there, argue for, because you had great hair metal albums that were true to hair metal. Now they did have like the mature sound. You had debuts still coming out in 1993. Now, not a whole lot, but very, very good stuff. Mature sounding. Yes, not your Pretty Boy Floyd or Trickster sounding albums either. Which I would agree kind of with Popoff though there. Like, yes, and that's where I kind of live. Like, that's where most of my life I lived, in the 1990 to 1992, 1993 hair metal. That's my favorite era of hair metal. because of like what Martin Popoff says, it's the most mature. Now, yes, there were some bands that hair metal bands that did try to go really grungy sounding and it didn't work. But I think I like this era a lot is because a lot of these bands went to more of a bluesy style, not a grungy. Whenever a band tried to go grungy, I think it more times than not, like eight times out of 10, it fell flat and was not good. And I do not hardly ever visit them. So I think that's a little bit of the only thing I would change with like how I would define 1990 and 1993 was way more bluesy influence to these bands, new and old bands. So, and like I said, it's my favorite era. So I'm quite interested because Martin Popoff does not talk about this era, or he doesn't really talk about hair metal as much. Um, but it's certainly I rarely ever hear him like after like 88. He talks about these bands or this era. So I'm quite interested. Let's jump into his list here.
Gray hair metal albums. So starting off, we're going to do these in reverse order. I've got Skid Row, Slave to the Grind. Yeah, what did I do here? I'm doing a dozen, right? Yeah, 12. So number 12, Skid Row, Slave to the Grind. This is the follow-up to the self-titled debut, which is absolutely hair metal album. I don't care what Baz says. It's so hair metal, it's not funny. But Slave to the Grind, they get heavier. They get even a little thrashier or speed metal or a little up tempo. The production is crushing on it. Baz is just killing it with putting more hair on his voice. But it's still a little Aerosmithy, maybe a little grungy and stuff. But yeah, they just come up with something a little more vicious, delicious. It's a little bit like Warrant coming out with Dog Eat Dog kind of thing. Number 11, I've got.
I agree. Yeah, it's a very good album. It didn't make my top 50 hair metal albums though, but I mean, wasted time. Who cannot like that song and love that guitar solos and just the guitar work in that song? But like, it's a overall pretty good album. But I know like because like Martin says, you do get that thrashiness in here, you get that heaviness, especially when you compare it to their debut album. But it's not totally something out of left field though either. Like say their next album, Subhuman Race, which I know a lot of people are starting to really love that album, starting to become like a cult classic. I just cannot get into that. It's too much Pantera and later era Pantera for me. It's just not much on there that I revisit. But as far as Slave to the Grind, though, I mean, sure that fits on this list.
Bullet Boys Freak Show. I really like the Bullet Boys. It's the baby Van Halen, but they're a very good quality version of it. Ted Templeman gets involved with them as well. But I think this is an exciting, interesting band. Great vocals, heavy, great production, and their second album is really cool. I really like Zaza as well, the third album. Next, I've got
I fall in that camp of really liking Zaza as well. I was super impressed with that album, and what was that, 1993? But yeah, the as far as Freak Show, I never really got into that. I just don't get into Bullet Boys that much. I think they're a little overrated, as in my opinion. Especially after Zaza, they never did anything that really appealed to me. And even like the debut, like yes, it went gold, but anything other than like Smooth Up In Ya, like I don't get into that album. It's not that it's bad, but it's just I just don't visit as much as like some other people. But as far as Freak Show though, like there's some stuff on there I do like, like but THC Groove I was never really a fan of. Talk to Your Daughter's cool, but it doesn't make any playlist. Thrills That Kills is probably like the one that I really remember off of that, and I do actually really like that song. But I don't know. If I go to Bullet Boys, which isn't a lot, but if I do, it is Zaza. If you guys enjoy this content that we're doing here, please like the video, please share it, and then please subscribe. That helps the channel out so much. Just helps everything that we're doing here. And also leave me a comment as well. Always interested to see what you guys had to say. Now let's jump right back into this video.
Slaughter at number 10, The Wildlife. I've always liked that Slaughter sound, that Dana Strum, screechy, high, eccentric production sound. It's there on the first album, but this is an actually more, I mean, the album's called The Wildlife, and it's kind of like a wild version of that. They are really disconnected and all over the place. It's very Van Halen-esque. It's kind of like over the top, almost like tasteless playing, but it just kind of works. And same with the screaming. I mean, Mark Slaughter's voice is almost like a metaphor for Dana Strum's production. I just bought into this band for a weird reason. I don't know why. It's almost like they were even more hair metal than everybody else, but late in the game. So they're arriving late. But they're still in that mature period where they actually still have some success with this as well, right?
Well, I think to Martin's point, as far as like the matureness, I mean, you had Dana Strum and Mark Slaughter uh, be with Vincent for his two albums. So there was that, like, they had a little bit of a chemistry already, and then they brought on Blas and Kelly into Slaughter. So I mean, they kind of had like half speed going, like half of a foot in the door already with the debut of Slaughter, and maybe that's why it sounded so good as well. But as far as like the wildlife, I know I cannot get into that album. That album, that I think it's one of Slaughter's worst albums in their whole catalog. I do not visit that much. The ballads on there are weak. Um, I mean, the title track "Wildlife" is really, really good, but to me, it just seems like a lot of leftovers from "Stick It to You." And if anything, I'm going to 1995's "Fear No Evil," the third album from Slaughter. I think that is what should have came out in 1992. It would obviously fared a lot better than obviously 1995, but I think Slaughter really got their edge on that album and really a lot of growth to their songwriting and lyrics on Fear No Evil compared to any of the first two albums. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to agree with the wildlife one here. There's plenty of, and that's the crazy thing. Like, if our deadline is like halfway through 1991, that there's like 100 albums that we could choose to put on this list. Probably more than 100. It's absolutely crazy how many great albums came out after 1990, 1991, or after Nevermind. So, yeah, I gonna have to disagree with Martin on this one here, the wildlife.
Number nine, I've got Enough's Enough Strength, the second Enough's Enough album. I love this band. I love the fact that they're kind of like a hair metal version of Cheap Trick or the Beatles, a little bit of King's X in there as well. I just think they're a really interesting little Elvis Costello in there. But yeah, just a really good melodic, like I say, Cheap Trick esque band, also out of Chicago. Kick Tracy at number 8, No Rules.
Yeah, okay.
Kick Tracy.
So as far as Enough's Enough goes, this album is the one I visit the least, especially out of their first three. Now, Animals with Human Intelligence is actually really good. I like that one a lot, but you're looking at 1993 then. But either way, though, the top 50 or the debut does make my top 50, which I was super impressed when I first listened to the debut, and I was like, holy shit, this is actually really, really good. Because when you listen to the two singles from the debut, you're like, oh, we're gonna get like a really more popular Poison, and like, yeah, I'm kind of like, oh, what are we gonna get here with this album? But I was actually really impressed. There's some dark stuff on the debut. And as far as this album goes, Strength, I just don't visit it that much. I mean, the singles are fine, you know. I don't know. I never really got into this one that much. So this is another one that I could probably leave off of this list. Certainly, especially like I said, if we're talking 1991 to 1993, if you're giving me those 2 years, I could give you probably 25 albums better than this album. So I'll leave this one off here too.
Also out of Chicago. Kick Tracy at number 8, No Rules.
Hell yeah.
Kick Tracy are the Baby Slaughter. And I think what you get here is, again, that very, very extreme Slaughter-esque production. But I buy into the songwriting and the personality a little more with Kick Tracy. They only made the one album. They've got the EP as well, and that's it. But I think they captured this idea of, well, like I say, sometimes I don't mind getting a baby band of another band, especially when I like the original band. So Slaughter is the original, Kick Tracy is the baby band. I think they do a good job of it.
All right, yeah, I really like Kick Tracy. No Rules, absolutely cool. I guess why Martin thinks it kind of reminds him of the Slaughter production is because Dana Strum from Slaughter produced this album. So I mean, You're So Strange is really good. Atmospheric song. Tangerine Man's really cool. There's a lot of good songs on that. The only song I don't like, I think, is Generation Express or Generation. I think it's Generation Express is the song, like the fourth or fifth track on here. That's the only one that I don't really visit, and that doesn't make the iPod. But as far as like that album is really, really good. One of my favorites ever since I was a teenager. So,
Number 7, I've got an old school band in here with a hair metal album, Kiss Revenge.
ugh.
What?
I really think this is probably my favorite Kiss album. It might be my second or third favorite Kiss album of all time. I put Destroyer first, but I think Bob Ezrin comes back and he does nothing like Bob Ezrin usually does. And he just gets this really good, heavy, tough production, no nonsense songs, just basically Kiss's very best hair metal songs. This is just absolutely blows away. Crazy Nights. Crazy Nights and hot in the shade from. I'm losing my mind, right? The previous two, right? And I do like Asylum, and I do like Animalize, and I do like Lick It Up, and I do like Creatures in the Night. But Creatures of, see, here we go again. Anyways, I think this is the best of that whole run, the most capable, well put together, well produced, and I think the songwriting is so. This is truly a boy, we got to try harder kind of thing, and the band looks great too. The band shots associated with this. Number 6.
Really? So Martin thinks that this is one of the better songwriting Kiss albums here, or as far as in the '80s run, anyway. But man, let's look at this here. I totally disagree. This is like one of my. I hate this album. I think this album went for 1992. Are you kidding me? Like this. I Just Want It is like one of the worst Kiss songs there is. Very immature. It sounds like what it sounds like it should be on Crazy Nights on that album. Like it's just super immature stuff. Every Time I Look at You is just a very bland ballad. Yeah, I take it off. Like, all right. I have to admit, whenever this album comes on, I kind of turn it down because I don't want to be heard or seen listening to this album. And Unholy is just like yeah, we're trying to be heavy here. It's 1992. We're trying to be cool. I just don't get this album. God Gave Rock and Roll to You is pretty good. I do like that song. I think that's like the only one. Domino. And all these other deep cuts here. Like what? I don't get it. I don't like this album at all. Like I said, if someone would come in and steal it from my collection, I would not lose sleep over it at all. Yeah, I just can't get into this album. Now maybe some of it is because of Eric Carr wasn't really on this album, obviously because his passing and having heart cancer and stuff like that. But and I think it really, really shows that Eric is not a part of this album. And because I think any other Kiss '80s run album blows this away. Not even I don't even have to think about it. Even Hot in the Shade, and that's saying something. But yeah, I just cannot get into this album at all. And I know a lot of people, including Martin there, that loves this album, and I just don't see it. I don't see it. I'll play any of the other '80s Kiss albums over this one. I'll play any Kiss album actually over this album. So
That's right. I said it. I meant it. I'm here to represent it.
Number 6, I've got Saigon Kick, The Lizard. This is a little bit of a cheater because Saigon Kick lean us a little bit into the idea of grunge and alternative metal. So they are a little bit of a hybrid band. It is still hair metal. They're also doing a little bit of that Cheap Trick Enough's Enough thing as well. There's beautiful vocal harmonies involved with this band. So this is their second album. The first one I really liked as well, the self-titled, but The Lizard is really cool. Great title. But yeah, it is a little bit moving away from hair metal. The other band that this reminds me of, this is almost like a hair metal version of Jane's Addiction, right? Number 5.
okay. I mean, I had the first two Saigon Kick albums, and I was super unimpressed with the debut. I did not like that album, but I had the Lizard for 10 plus years now. I do like that album. But I just don't visit that much. But I like the Peppermint Tribe is a cool song. God of 42nd Street, I like that. I dig that song a lot. The ballad that it's like most well known for, Love Is on the Way, it's fine, but I don't visit that ballad that much, and it is what it is. But if I had to choose between the two, the debut or this album, I would certainly choose the Lizard, no doubt about that.
I've got Tesla, Psychotic Supper. Always got lots of time for Tesla. Love Busted Nut as well, 1994. But this is Psychotic Supper, 91. By the way, I should have said this along the way. Skid Row is 91. Bullet Boys is 91. Slaughter's 92. Enough's Enough, 91. Kick Tracy, 91. Kiss Revenge, 92. Saigon Kick. The Lizard, 92. So Tesla's Psychotic Supper, 91. I like this much more than the earlier material. I like it a little more than Busted Nut, but Busted Nut would be my second favorite. I think this band is like the bluesy Bad Company, but also weirdly all the best things you love about Def Leppard, High and Dry, all mixed into a hair metal situation. They're from upstate in California, right? So they're not right there in LA. Everybody kind of liked them. They were reviewed well. They consider them a little more real, a little more soulful, and they kind of are. But it is still very, very glossy and well put together. And like I say, it's got a lot of Def Leppard in there as well. But and heavy. They could be very heavy at times too. So yeah, I think that's an amazing record. Number 4.
Yeah, I like this album. Out of I do agree with Martin as far as I do like this this album and Bust a Nut more than I do the first two Tesla albums. I think I do like the growth and the sound of the early '90s compared to mid '80s Tesla. But I mean, Tesla's just not a band that I visit that much. I like them, but there's like 50 other bands I would rather listen to than Tesla, though, in the hair metal genre. So I like them. I appreciate like the bluesiness because that's what I love about hair metal is the bluesiness. But it's just a band I just don't get to as much as a lot of other people.
Or I've got Badlands, Voodoo Highway.
Hey, now you speak my language here.
Okay.
So here we've got the great Jake E. Lee. The first album I like even better, but it's too early to put on this list. Voodoo Highway is 91. They only made the 2 albums. There is kind of like demo-y stuff that comes out later. But they only got the 2 official albums. Now this is them being even more bluesy and more eccentric and more funky. But I think it's an amazing record. It's got this visceral, lively, analog 70s kind of production feel. It sounds like a band playing live together. Great singing as well, of course. But yeah, it's absolutely the idea of, the first one's a little more Whitesnake, and this is a little more, I think there's a James Gang cover on it, right? But a little more James Gang, a little more Humble Pie, right? So this is an example of bands making a shift a little bit away from hair metal because this grunge thing is blowing up, right?
Yeah, I actually like Voodoo Highway better than the debut for Badlands. Both are awesome, and obviously Jake E. Lee and Ray Gillen, great. And even Eric Singer there on the first album, and he wasn't on the second album. I don't think he did anything on the second album, but obviously he went to Kiss then for Revenge. So yeah, wow. But anyway, I do really like the final track on Voodoo Highway, In a Dream. It's just basically Ray just singing, but it's absolutely amazing. Oh god, it's such an amazing song. But it's good stuff all the way around on this album. Voodoo Highway is really, really good. I think it stands up, if not better than the debut. So I certainly agree with Martin on this. It just missed my top 50 hair metal albums list.
Number 3, I've got Love, Hate, Let's Rumble, 1993. So they're already dropping down. I think they're on RCA / something else on this. A little bit of a weird album cover. Looks like a hardcore album. But yeah, still an amazing, rough, cool, Jizzy Pearl performance on these tough rock and rolling songs, sleazy hair metal. I've always come up with that, that as we get through there, Guns N' Roses kicks off this idea of sleazy hair metal, dirty hair metal, bluesy hair metal, right? Today we're talking gray hair metal, which I just made up this morning. But like I say, this is all your late. It just means later, right? But yeah, I think this is a great album. They're already semi an indie band, kind of in a way. But I think it's still a tough, sleazy, decadent sort of album. It really captures, what I want out of Guns N' Roses, but I get even more out of Love, Hate. Number 2.
Yeah, I will certainly say Let's Rumble is probably my favorite Love Hate album. The title track is absolutely amazing. Probably my favorite Love Hate song, actually. I think it's just, a lot of people say like that are fans of Love Hate, like or love the first 2 albums. They like this album, Let's Rumble, the third album, but they say it's a little bit more heavy metal, if you will, I guess, than say punk ish, that like from what they do on the first 2 albums, which I can kind of see that, and maybe that's why I kind of like it more than the first two albums. But I mean, Love Hate's good, man. I mean, actually, they don't make my top 50, but still awesome band, and yes, and that sleaze metal is absolutely awesome. I think sleaze metal slash blues metal would have certainly taken the reins in 1991, 1992 if grunge, that was hair metal's answer to grunge, in my opinion. Sleaze and blues metal. Now, yes, you could say sleaze metal was out before, 88, where you would say grunge kind of started. But as far as growth, bringing more bands into that subgenre, I think they certainly would have been able to take over the early 90s, mid 90s, and the world would have been a better place for it, in my opinion.
Surprising one. I'm going all the way up to 1997 for this one. Jackal, Cut the Crap. Man,
Yes.
I play this record all the time.
Mhm.
It's my favorite Jackal album for sure. It's got that pretty crappy album cover, literally. But yeah, the songs on here, Jesse James Dupree it's got so much personality. An Atlanta band. You feel the Southern rock roots in this band. You feel the AC/DC in this band. This has the duet with Brian Johnson on it, which is incredible. I think it's called Locked and Loaded. Yeah, just track after track of super fun rockin', Southern rockin', almost Kiss like hair metal. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. I just can't get enough of it. Play it all the time. Number one.
Yeah, Cut the Crap that might be my favorite Jackal album as well. Jackal and the whole catalog I don't think ever put out a bad album. And they're one of those bands. I was talking to Hair Basement Brian about this last week. Jackal did not give an inch, and they were like one of the only bands that you would put hair metal bands, which you could argue they aren't hair metal either, but that hair metal bands that actually had success. Now, yes, they didn't sell platinum or anything like that, or gold, except the first album. Throughout the 90s, they had success. Like they still were, selling shows. Like they were still selling tickets, selling albums, and they didn't compromise on their sound either. As Martin says here, 1997, Cut the Crap. 1997, find me a better album and hair metal album in 1997. You're gonna be hard pressed to find it, if any. But yeah, Cut the Crap. The title track is absolutely awesome with the duet with Brian Johnson. Wrote one of Jackal's best songs, and also too, I love the lyric in the first track, the opening track, where he says, "Yeah, it might have been a one-hit wonder, but it might only take me one hit to knock your teeth down your goddamn throat." It's just attitude all the way out the ass here, and it's 1997, guys. Grunge is dead by this point. More or less, you got the second wave of grunge coming in. Man, and Jackal's just doing their own thing. Third album in, they said in 1997, we don't give a shit. We're gonna do what Jackal does and kick ass. So, big props for Martin having this album on the list.
This was never going to be in doubt. We have 2 through 12, and this record craps on them all from a height of several miles. Love, Hate, Wasted in America, absolute genius, master.
Oh my goodness, Martin, are we doing 2 albums from one band? Come on.
Piece start to finish. It's ambitious, it's complicated, it's beautifully but still decadently and roughly recorded. It's performed with absolute precision. It's sleazy, the lyrics are amazing. Jizzy Pearl, every track on here, so much cool experimentation going on, incredible bass lines, surprises around every corner, and yet still it captures that magic that the world feels about Appetite for Destruction. But like I say, I think it's even doubled or tripled with this band. And Blackout in the Red Room, at Red Room, Blackout in a Red Room, whatever, 1989, 1990. See, I'm losing my mind, right? But that's a really good album as well. But I feel it's just halfway to this one. This is where they absolutely, capture just everything's firing on all cylinders. So much creativity. I could even say there's even a little touch of Jane's Addiction, but Jane's Addiction pale in comparison to the genius that is Love Hate. So yeah, check out Wasted in America.
I mean, this is a good album as well, but like I said, I prefer Let's Rumble. But Tranquilizer is an amazing song. They could have took like the first minute and a half of Tranquilizer and made its own song out of that. It's just absolutely awesome. And I love how it got so melodic, and then they jump into like normal love hate shit. And I think they also did like somewhat of a ballad here on this album. Don't fuck with me, and I won't fuck with you. like it's just tongue in cheek type stuff though too. But not many people can do what love hate does. So now, like I said, they're not my favorite, but I certainly respect and like what Love Hate does, and even Jizzy Pearl's recent stuff is really, really good. I am super impressed with his like modern releases, like of the past 5 to 10 years. So, shout out to Jizzy as well. Awesome, awesome singer.
If you have not heard this album, it absolutely should have been the biggest hair metal album of all time. Doesn't even certify as gold because it's just coming way too late, right? But it's just so good. But we are post Nirvana here. I just want to bring up something else here as well. Hearing this record in '92, it does remind you a little bit how Alice in Chains Facelift is 10% hair metal. Mother Love Bone, Apple is 25% hair metal. So, and we know Alice in Chains before that were even more hair metal, right? So there is this transition period that we don't really get to see with some of these grunge bands. And to my mind, Love Hate kind of fits in here as well. You could think of the first album as a little bit more aligned with Mother Love Bone. Another one that kind of fits in here as well is you think of War Babies. I could have put War Babies on this list. Maybe I should have. The great Brad Simpson.
Yeah, War Babies, love that album. That's so good. And that's another example is what we would have got if the industry and media would have stayed supporting the hair metal genre. We would have got bands like that were going parallel with grunge and doing it better, in my opinion. So because after a while, grunge just gets whiny, man. Like it's just and hair metal was finding that balance of partying, like having party songs on their album, and also like really serious stuff. So like as far as like Warren's Dog Eat Dog, beautiful example of that. And there's plenty of other examples like that too. But people just don't know of these examples because they came out after 1991 and no support, no promotion, no nothing. So it certainly is a lost era within the era of hair metal, 1990 to 1993. Absolutely heartbreaking to look back because I didn't live through it. So like when I look back at it, it's certainly heartbreaking for these bands and for the fans. Really, like I could have only imagined if I was living through that, there would have been some depression, no doubt about that. But then again, you get records like half off, or in the clearance bin, so that's a big plus. Instead of spending like $10 for every brand new CD that you like.
So 1992 Sony. So War Babies is another band, and because they're coming from Seattle, that reminds me a little bit. It fits in that whole Mother Love Bone, love hate sort of situation. I feel a podcast episode coming up.
And to the Mother Love Bone, and also more specifically Alice in Chains Facelift. I have been in this corner for a long time now, and to me, Facelift is not a grunge album. I do not see Facelift as it's a heavy. I think it's just more of a heavy metal album, because it's not thrashy, but like even like a traditional metal feel to it, but just in the early '90s sound. I don't necessarily see. There are grunge elements, I guess, in it, but like just to be like, oh, hey, this is what grunge sounds like. I would disagree with that. To me, it's just a really good heavy metal record. Just bar none.
This sounds like a kind of a neat concept. But anyways, there you go. Those are my 12 gray hair metal albums you must own. Please like and subscribe. Let me know what I missed here. I'm very well aware of. I did a lot of research on this one. I looked at a ton of hair metal albums, and these are the ones I wanted to put on here. I did forget War Babies. I do admit that, but I don't think there's too many that I truly feel like I missed. But let us know. Join our Patreon situation.
All right, Wild Side. That's another one that I just thought of right now that would have probably been my number one. But yeah, maybe I should think of 12. Post grunge or post 1991, just in general 1991, and just have 1992 and 1993 and 1994 actually. But all right, so guys, let me know in the comments what you think of Martin's list here. I have to say I don't disagree with a lot of it. I think we see kind of eye to eye on at least half of the list. But yeah, certainly that Kiss one, man. That's the sore big red sore thumb of this list, in my opinion, that I cannot, I cannot handle that one. But certainly, let me know in the comments, guys, what you guys think, and shout out to Martin as well for like bringing more hair metal here into the Contrarians mix on the channel. So very cool stuff. So shout out to Martin. All right, and I will like the video here. Good list, Martin. So guys, until next time, stay out of that collateral damage. And if you guys enjoyed this reaction video, check out my reaction to Bryce Talks Metal's top 50 albums.
Yeah, I wrote that. It's called I Want to Rock Your Body. And then in parentheses it says to the break of dawn.